Numbers chapter 19. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron. He said, "This is a statute of the law that the Lord has prescribed. Order the people of Israel to bring you a red cow which has no defect or blemish and has never been submitted to the yoke. You will give it to Eleazar the priest so that it may be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Then Eleazar the priest is to take some of the cow's blood on his finger and sprinkle this blood 7 times toward the entrance to the tent of meeting. The cow shall then be burned in his presence, including its hide, flesh, blood, and the offal. Then the priest is to take cedar wood, a twig of hyssop leaves, and a red cord, and throw them on the fire where the cow is being burned. Finally, he shall wash his clothing and bathe his body in water, after which he may go back to the camp, but he will remain unclean until evening. The man who has burned the cow shall also wash his clothing and bathe his body in water, but will remain unclean until evening. A man who is ritually clean shall gather up the ashes of the cow and put them outside the camp in a clean place. They must be kept for the ritual use of the community of Israel to prepare the water of purification. The man who has gathered up the ashes of the cow shall wash his clothing, but will remain unclean until evening. This will be an irrevocable statute for the people of Israel as well as for the alien resident among them. Anyone who touches the corpse of any person whatsoever will be unclean for 7 days. He shall purify himself with these waters on the 3rd and the 7th day, and he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd and the 7th day, he will not be clean. Anyone who touches a corpse, the body of a man that has died, and has not purified himself, defiles the tabernacle of the Lord. Such a person must be ostracized from Israel, because the waters for purification have not been poured over him. He is unclean, and his uncleanness remains in him. This is the law with regard to a person who dies in a tent. Anyone who goes into the tent, or anyone who is already there, becomes unclean for 7 days. Equally unclean shall be every open vessel and pot in the house that has not been fastened with a lid. Anyone in the open country who touches a person who has been killed, or a person who had died, or human bones, or a grave, becomes unclean for 7 days. For the unclean, you shall take some of the ashes of the cow that was offered as a sin offering in a vessel and pour running water over them. A ritually clean man shall dip a twig of hyssop in the water and sprinkle it on the tent and everything in it, and on the persons as well who were there. And he shall sprinkle it on the one who touched the bone or the dead body or the one slain or the grave. The ritually clean man shall sprinkle water on the unclean person on the 3rd and the 7th days. So, on the 7th day, the unclean is cleansed. He shall wash his clothes and bathe himself on this day, and in the evening he will become clean. But if the unclean man does not cleanse himself, he shall be ostracized from the community, lest he defile the sanctuary of the Lord. As long as the water of purification has not been poured upon him, he is unclean. This shall be an irrevocable statute for you. The man who sprinkles the water of purification shall wash his clothes, and those who touch this water are unclean until the evening. Whatever the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and whoever touches it shall be unclean until evening.